Okay, thanks, Sam, and thanks everyone for joining us today. You probably already know we are in Istanbul at the moment. We are at the final day of our 2 weeks field work here in Istanbul, particularly a community called Saint-Tepe. So we'll tell you more about all of this in due course. But before actually officially to start, and I didn't realize I checked whether Alp is here as well. Alp, are you here?
I am here, yes.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. Hello, how are you? Okay.
I'm
Right.
fine,
Okay.
thank
So
you.
yes, good. Yeah. Just for the others, I just wanted to check the Alp who is also the other partner who is actually not with us, but in the another parts of the in Turkey. So okay. So again, we'll go back to the official the script. Welcome to join our session here. Yes, probably this session might be slightly different, as I mentioned, because this session is basically about the work in progress, the report to you all, because I believe all of you who are joining us today have some perspective or expert and have done work with the community and have done project in the past or you are currently doing in relation to water. So as you see, you can see from a slide that I'm sharing right now, we are currently conducting this project called Future of Listening and Water Knowledge from 2 Cities. So this is the ODI ISPF challenge-based research grant by the British Academy. And we have started from we were supposed to start in July, but there was some hiccup there. So we actually started in late August, early September, I mean, in full scale. And we are supposed to finish our project by the end of this year. So this is the 18-month project. So for this session, we proposed to Julia and Sam that we will have a kind of a two parts. So the first part will be a short presentations, first from me about the project and then overarching thematic ideas and concepts that underpinning this project. But I hope that there will be really, hopefully I'll make that really short and then I will hand over to our 2 wonderful partners, and then they will give you further details about the two target communities that we've been working with so far. Because we are, as I mentioned, we are the final day of our field trip here in Istanbul. We now have fully involved with our communities. Our whole team, whole research team have been to Jakarta and Istanbul by now. So we have a lot to share. So I hope that this session might be really interesting for you. So that's the part 1, and then we'll move to the part 2. Part 2, this is basically a Q&A session, but we would like to organize our Q&A session and not just simply, saying now the Q question. That's a little bit too, maybe a little bit too difficult for you. So we have come up with a couple of questions ourselves. So not just Alpha, Chris, and myself, and then the idea we have a few others are joining online from different parts of the world. So our research team. So we will throw a couple of questions ourselves and get the discussion going, and then hopefully and organically, smoothly, we'll open the discussion to you guys as well, so that you can, of course, you can jump in anytime and join in the discussion. But that will be the part 2. So that's the plan, and I hope that it goes well. So yeah. And I would like to give you a quick I need to look at my watch. Okay. I will give you the quick the aims and our team briefly and the target community again very briefly. So our project, its aim is to foster an empathic platform for listening to water knowledge from 2 target communities. So, and the reason why we want to do this is because based on the previous research has shown us that many times that often the water-related policies are usually coming from top down, and then those policies, when they get implemented to the local communities, often either language barrier, the language aspect, or the mistrust from the local community in many complex regions, those policies do not work. Not only they do not work, they also have a worse effect and impact on that local communities in the end. So we've been thinking about how we can, first of all, why such malpractice has been happening again and again and again. And obviously there are many layers of issues that cause that aspect. But from our perspective, and then for the reason for this particular funding call, we wanted to see if propose an idea that perhaps many of these the water-related policies have a set of a certain knowledge surrounding water, and that form or types of water knowledge do not really talk to the local water knowledge that the local communities have and owned, so that the mismatch or a miscommunication or non-communication between policy-related water knowledge and then local water knowledge are not meeting together. So if that's the proposition, then how we can find more about the local water knowledge, how we can tap into that local water knowledge. So that's the kind of underpinning a desire for us to set and then design hold this project together. So to do this, we have targeted two communities. The first one is the Kalibata Pulau in Jakarta, Indonesia, and the second one is Sayantepe in Istanbul, Turkey. Again, more details will to come very soon. And we are a team of three parts. The first one is the University of Aberdeen. We are the project lead, and I haven't mentioned my name. I'm Professor Tun Kim, myself, and then so I'm the project lead, but myself and the Dr. Chris Ballico, yes, are from music department, and then we have the one other colleague from geoscience, Dr. David Haro. So we are the University of Aberdeen team, and then we do have the other two, honestly wonderful, exceptional two partners. One from Lenteng in Jakarta, and then the other one is from Urban.Koop in Istanbul. Again, when they get their turn, they'll talk more about the group, their group, and then what they've been doing for this project. So just before we get to that detail to our project, I think we need to a little bit of a step back and think about the main project title, Futures for Listening, because this project is future listening and then water knowledge from two cities. So some might find this title interesting, Futures for Listening. So future listening as a project, this is a kind of you can call it a mother project or something. It started in 2023, and this was based on simple but yet maybe very expensive questions. So what's going to happen to the ways we listen in a couple of decades, considering what's going on right now in the world? So that's the simple questions, and then by way of asking the futures, and you can think of the futures as possibilities or virtualities, whatever where you are coming from. The possibilities of virtualities or futures listening, by asking those questions, I hope and we hope that we'll tap into many different facets of the human conditions and the non-human condition altogether. So that's the project that had started in 2023. And now we're here in 2025 and 24 and 25, we are doing this particular project and then bringing down this question down to the particular issues that are connected to water. Just a couple more, a quick theoretical or maybe some philosophical aspect of about the listening, and then sorry if I have to go through some of these issues in a very sweeping way. Sorry for this, but I will do my best to get across our ideas. In the future of the listenings, of course, the listening is a very important concept. We'd like to take the listening as a listening not just for oneself or self or me as a center of the listening activities. Listening as from the get-go, we'd like to position those who do listening are porous, meaning that there is no clear boundaries between the person who does listening and then other things or people who are part of this listening. And as you see, the Sandy mentioned that without you, listening cannot take place. So here, you is not only an Anthropocene perspective of humans, but also it's more than humans. So listening requires a you, someone other than myself. And also the listening ends up being a Christ itself, as Nancy said. So, and he says that to be listening is thus, sorry for that, thus to enter into tension and to be on the outlook for a relation to self. So basically, this is of course seems natural, but often we tend to forget that the listening requires not just someone who does listening, but listening requires whole things that are in a relationship. And another one that we think is really interesting is the listening is this. When we are in the act of listening, we are in a position that I would consider what Zizek said, parallax view. The parallax view is someone who knows about the Zizek's parallax view. Parallax view is a kind of in between states where there are irreplaceable gap between the two positions, for example, subject and object. Then what can you do if they do two things are talking to each other? There's an irreplaceable gap there. Then you can take the position in between. And that's what I understood Zizek's parallax view. I think that listening by nature, by the very act that it requires a you, that puts that active listening right in the middle of the gap. And that's the reason why we think that listening is a really, really important conceptual, but also practical tool when we are working with the communities who are engaged in this various different kind of water issues, which we'll talk about later. So if we go further than that, when we are engaging with the communities, we tend to find that these are what Loss Brothers call missing people, who are all different from each other, but they are all in this together. And the question with this together part becomes quite important and become more apparent when we've been conducting our field work in Calvert Polo and Santa Fe. So this we as we could take that this we as a post-human, and if we continue to follow Brothers' ideas, this post-human has 4 ontological conditions: embedded and embodied and relational and affective. Now, all 4 this condition sound very natural and easily, from my point of view, easily understood. But the issue to me is that these 4 conditions are not usually very obvious. That's something that I found when you are working with the communities, and they're all post-human conditions on the post-human condition. But these embeddedness or embodiment or relational or affective aspect that constitute their condition are not really readily visible. It's not readily visible, not only from outside, but also those who live in that condition, they also sometimes do not see those conditions. So the question is that we engage with the water-related issues. We need tools or methods to have those conditions emerge so that we can see and hear. When we can see and hear those ontological conditions of the post-human, we can perhaps call that as a sound image, or a more readily available term called the sonic imaginary. Interesting enough, sonic imaginary is before we go to that, so the type of methods that we've been working for this project is what we call cross-breeding methods. Simply it means that our project team is an expert in many different disciplines. So hydrology, water security, sound studies and technology, participatory and experimental filmmaking, urban government and asset-based community building, and urban design practice. So we are all got here together to engage that listening as an overarching concept to help us and help the community see and hear these ontological conditions of the post-human. And when those emerge, and when they emerge, and we try to amplify them and then identify and describe those conditions. And this condition, maybe we can call that as the social imaginary. These cross-breeding methods seems to have some linearity with what Nicolescu mentioned, the transdisciplinary methods. Transdisciplinary method, if I go really generate a little bit, it assumes that the subject object has many levels of the realities, and they are not confined. These are not hard line, and they are not separate each other. And to propose that they are not really complete structure, Nicolescu proposed that there's a hidden third. There's a hidden third. That hidden third is there, allowing the object, different levels of realities of object and subject can interact together. And those that logic is what Nicolescu calls the include the middle. Include the middle is that the kind of a antithesis to the traditional logic structure. So A as a non-A is supposed to mutually exclusive from each other, but in the reality, it doesn't have to be. So Nicolescu said to include the middle. There's in the middle right there, and then that suggests that from this idea, the knowledge that comes from different activities of this work, if they take the position of a transdisciplinary aspect, then the knowledge that they produce it should be open and complete open structure, which I think it was really interesting to the connection to the listening. I will go to the final. Hopefully, I will move on this one because I'm looking at the clock. I'm using too much time. The one here, just I will position just one more thing. This is the future studies. There are 4 levels of future studies there. First level, and second level, third level, fourth level. By engaging listening with this project, I'm hoping that we are engaging with is going through the different levels of the future studies, but particularly the third and fourth level. And the fourth level is the level of metaphor and myth, and that's where we believe that the sound image or sonic imaginary reside and populate and then interact. And then sometimes those imagery emerge from the fourth level towards the third and the second level and activate their impact. So finally, Just quickly the summarize. Listening leads to where these sonic images or social imaginaries are located in populated exercise. And according to Bussy, the images as a cultural reference populated social imagery, defining possibility on the one hand, while establishing the limit. If we take Foucault's idea of the power, a power has two parts, and one is the possibilities. It allows you to do something, but also it limits you, and the potential potestas aspect all existing. And you will soon hear from our two partners when uh, they are sharing with you their particular issues or conditions or the aspects about the water that communities are dealing with. These all issues, they come out not only as a limit, but also they come out as a possibilities, which is really interesting from our perspective. So I will shut up. So my part is done. I hope that I realize that I have gone through some of the ideas too sweepingly without giving you too much much needed the detail. But I hope that maybe some of the elements will come again when we get to the discussion and Q&A session. Now, I will hand over to our partners, perhaps starting from Dia. Dia is one of the co-members, research member at Kalibata for Lenteng. So, Dia. So I will stop.
Yeah, thank you, Jun, for the introduction. I will now share my screen. I will also be sharing a few videos and sounds from our projects. Hopefully there won't be much hiccups. Let's try. Yeah. Can you see it?
Yes.
Fine. Yeah, so thank you everyone for your time. I will give a brief introduction on Forum Lenteng and the work that we do. Forum Lenteng was established in 2003, and it was established after the fall of the Suharto regime, which was during the regime there was decades of suppression in terms of media activities, and so afterwards, after the fall of the dictatorship, there were many media organization and proliferation of citizen journalism that emerged. And so hence, since then, Forum Lenteng has been doing work with local communities, doing workshop in terms of media literacy in various parts of Indonesia. And so the work that we do deals a lot with community organization, community activation. And we've been conducting field work in Kalibata Pulo since around August. And Forum Lenteng, again, being filmmaking being one of our main method. So what we're doing is not in terms of listening, is also to document and the activities there alongside our engagement with the community. And our final project will also be in relation with the two feature documentary films that we will be presenting in November. And I guess I will give a brief introduction of Kalibata Pulo and the site that we've been working on. So when we refer to Kalibata Pulo, it's quite a big area. So what we're doing is we focus on two particular neighborhoods, and it is under the RT6, which is the neighborhood units. We are focusing on two neighborhood units, and one of our participants, our field manager, is also a resident there. So it's also making this work a bit of it has an auto-ethnographic aspect to it, because there is also a local resident there that's documenting and know what it's like to be to live there and to face the difficulties in terms of water there. And so just to give a brief, yeah, this is a map that one of the artist participants drew. So there is Kalibata Pulau itself. Pulau means island, and it's called that because it's surrounded by two small rivers. So the topography itself, it resembles an island. And here you can see one of the river here encircling the neighborhood unit. And here the green building is a mosque, and Kalibata Pulau itself boasts a strong religious community there that really shows through in their local water knowledge. So this is when you go through the Kalibata Pulau, this is what you will see. The houses are very close together, and you can go through the very narrow alleys and experience sounds there that are very different than here in Istanbul, because we've been doing field work here. And Kalibata Pulau itself is in the center of Jakarta, since it is the center city, the capital city, and many people migrated from outside of Jakarta, Java, in terms of economic opportunities. So so it has become overpopulated, and it became a densely populated region. So this is one of the warung, or the mini stalls that they gather and they sell goods. This is one of the hotspots for the local communities here to gather and discuss, and particularly for women, they would go here in the mornings to sell stuff and to buy stuff. And of course, you can see here in the right part, it's right next to the river. So their life is, they always see water. Water is everywhere, but they don't really talk about it. And today we will discuss why that is and how has it been developed over the few months that we've been doing field work there. So in terms of listening, one of our main activity there is doing sound walks, going through the narrow alleyways and experiencing the spatial and also the different temporal experiences that emerge from this narrow alleyways. And here I can show one of the videos that if it's working. Is it working?
I'm not seeing it come through yet.
Okay.
Try one more time, and then if it doesn't work, then you move on.
Okay.
Yeah. This looks more frontal.
You guys, can you hear the sound?
We can't hear sound, Jun. We can see the video fine and it's streaming fine. We just can't hear the audio.
Right. I think there is a reason.
Is it, the sound is not there?
No, it's not. You need to often tick, there should be a box to tick when you're sharing it to make sure you also share the audio as well. It doesn't automatically. Yep, we can hear it now. Thank you.
ini portrait atau landscape.
Stop there. Okay. Mhm. Yeah, and aside from the sound walks, we also document the everyday, because what we also recognize is that the problems there, for instance, the flooding, since Jakarta is a lying land, it deals with flooding. It happens every time there's a heavy rain, but every 5 years there is also a cycle where the flood could reach above 2 meters. And even then, this problem has become a mundane phenomenon for the people there. They are not talking about water, they are not talking about the flooding. And so what we're doing with the sound journal is that we recognize that means the mundane has a particular significance as well, and we should also be documenting the everyday. And we will also listen to one of the sound journal. Yeah. So in terms of listening, what we are trying to do is not to just listen to what is there, because as Jun mentioned, the practice of listening, it could also point towards something that is not seen, or what is not readily visible for us. And so what we're doing, each artist participant is also taking sound journals on what is not heard as well as what is heard. And one of the artist participants, for instance, is focusing on several bridges. Their bridge is seeing not just the material sense of it, or the construction of it, but also since we are also talking about community engagement, we're also talking about bridge as a conceptual methods, or conceptual framework in seeing how we engage the community there. And in terms of listening, Jun mentioned that we are also talking about what is relational, and listening does not exist in just one sense, right? When we are listening, we are not shutting down other senses. And so we also, through listening as a method, we also explore other senses, such as how we experience the location here, there through things are tactile or things are feasible. And one of the methods is doing sketches while we're listening, while we're doing these sound walks, we're also sketching the location there. And so what you're seeing right now is here is the river, and there are pipes. There are pipes that go through from the houses straight to the river. And you can also see there are some sandbags here that they use as a method to block the water from entering their houses. So aside from listening through sound and also through tactile experiences, we're also documenting or conducting interviews with the local residents. And here are some of the images from the interviews that we did. And community engagement became important for us because it's also what we're trying to tap into is the local water knowledge and what is not feasible. And so what we're trying to do by engaging the local community is not just trying to talk with them regarding water, but also what does it mean when they're telling us about the myth and the stories that exist in the local community, and that always reflect on how they see water. Like, for instance, there are stories about how when it floods, usually there are some sort of white crocodile that would emerge. And so what we're trying to do is to also explore what it means, what it means to their relation with water. So in terms of engaging the local community, and Jun was talking about how some policies actually make it worse for, or it doesn't work for the local community in establishing their connection with water. So what we're trying to do is also gathering information from the local stakeholders and how they see their role as a local leader there, and how they could also contribute to our local way of accessing water knowledge. Because in these interviews, memories become a very important part, memory and remembering, since listening is it's a very fragile thing. Sound is a very fragile thing. It continuously changes. And what we're trying to do is to engage these sounds that are no longer there through their memories, through the memories of the local residents. So in terms of listening to collective memory, there are three main aspects that contribute to how they remember. And the first one is the aspect of urban kampung or urban village. So there are many definitions of it, and it's widely explored in Indonesia, what is desa kota or urban village. But how we define it here is that although it is in the middle of central Jakarta and it's affected by urbanization and developmentalism, they still maintain a certain kinship that really builds their sense of understanding water and their connection with water. So Kalibata Pulo, they used to see river as also their kin. They used to bathe there, they used to play there, they used to wash there. And so because of the change of landscapes, because of the urbanization and over developmentalism, landscapes has been changed, and so does their habits also change. And one of the main trigger for this was the policy called the MHT, which is established to clean the kampungs because they are seen as dirty and unorganized. And this policy emerged from the colonial rule because using surface level water is seen as uncivilized during the colonial rule. And so therefore, we are also trying to see how post-colonial or colonial rules, colonial policies has been continued under post-colonial era and until now, and how it further removes the relationship between the citizens with water. So in terms of accessing these memories, local water knowledge is continuously being produced and continuously being practiced, but it's often not being realized. It's often a part of the mundane and not being addressed as a particular knowledge. And so what we're also trying to do is through the placemaking activities that we did there, and also through the community engagement, and through also our artistic practices, we are trying to frame this local ways of understanding water as their own way of knowledge, and further establish their role there as the residents. They also have an agency to depict their own way of relating to water outside of the policies that obviously does not work, and continuously to sever them from their relationship with water. And so that's what we are trying to do with gathering the residents. Is not just to gather in terms of being together, but also how to make it a purposeful assemblies, how to use these points in assembling to discuss water knowledge. I will share another video in one of the placemaking activities.
Tanya, bener aqua atau tidak? Mohon maaf saya menyebutkan satu merek ya. Itu kadang-kadang kan orang Indonesia itu kan pintar sekali untuk memanipulasi ya. Ini asli padahal aspal, asli atau palsu gitu. Iya. Jadi kami di Posyandu, saya juga Posyandu, otomatis kan ketemu dengan balita, anak umur 0 sampai 5 tahun, yang memastikan air bersih itu satu, tidak berwarna dan tidak berbau, seperti itu aja sih. Kami mengajarkan anak-anak kami, kalau anak-anak mau hujan-hujanan monggo silahkan, nggak apa-apa gitu, untuk menikmati masa kecilnya. Itu aja sih. Terima kasih. Oh, masih sama sih, masih dulu kan masih banyak pencemaran ya, masih speed tank dan sumur itu kan masih jauh juga, masih bisa minum dari air sumur. Dan zaman dulu itu namanya jumbleng deh, ya jumbleng itu jadi ada kayak semacam sumur, kita BAB-nya di situ. Jadi itu jumbleng itu jauh dari rumah. Biasanya kalau zaman dulu kita ke kamar mandi kalau malam harus diantar. Rumahnya di sana paling nggak 100 meter itu baru ketemu jumbleng. Itu orang dulu udah tahu tuh kalau bahwa kotoran manusia itu mengandung bakteri-bakteri yang tidak baik seperti itu. Jadi adanya di jumbleng, dan jumblengnya itu ditutup dengan pagar. Itu seperti itu. Dan emang kali nggak boleh. Terus air got itu tidak boleh langsung ke sungai. Itu harus ada jumbleng lagi buat khusus untuk air. Itu dulu zaman dulu kami di kampung ya, seperti itu. Jadi
So what you were seeing earlier was a woman was also in charge of the childcare facilities, the local led childcare facilities. She was explaining how they would define clean water. And I'm sure this is also the first time that they get to reflect on it. What does it mean when they talk about clean water and dirty water? And it this kind of assemblies then get to frame and also get to highlight what water means to them. And there are many instances where that would happen in these gatherings. Yeah, but of course, placemaking activities, they don't need external validation or external involvements. They are also already being done by the local community there. The site that we are doing all of these placemaking activities happened next to a local musola, a local mosque that they used to gather, and the children would play there. And one of the artist participants also used this to trigger the children to draw together and to experience the location together through mentioning several keywords, like, for instance, what does it mean for them? How do they experience water, and how do they experience the flooding? And through this very abstract, what the children see as very abstract notions, they would draw their experiences and they would visualize it.
Makan bubuknya. Iya, aku makan bubuknya biasanya. Enggak, aku bikin makanan pribadi. Iya, aku bisa bikin milsu. Milsu rasanya enak. Juga bisa bikin buat dari bola-bola. Tidak tadi. Iya. Itu ternyata apa ya? Ada semuanya. Belum. Ini apa kan? Baru dapat sedikit, Pak. Apa?
Yeah, so in terms of our activities with the children, we're also using their way of playing as a way to tap into their water knowledge. Like, for instance, when it was flooding, they would play with the mud and would construct so-called bridges in the gutter. And we would also utilize that as a way to tap into their imagination or their hopes for the future in terms of the location. Like, for instance, they would add green open spaces near the river where there is a lack of it, since the spaces are very limited there, and there are not a place for them to play and to gather. So in terms of the flooding, there is also a duality in how the residents see the floods. Because as outsider, when we go to the location and see a site like this, we would see this as a hazard or something that is dangerous. But what we experience there, or what we see from the local residents, some of the children actually see flooding as a way to access the location as a big playground. And it shows their resiliency in these times, and how water is also not seen as solely as a natural disaster, in this case flooding, but also it's also something that has its own agency. And when Jun was talking about post-human and what does it mean to also listen to, we are also talking about what it means to listen to non-human agencies. So this is the image before the flooding.
Udah cepet banget. Ya, sama aja. Bang Du, sana lihat. Bang.
So when we are talking about natural disaster and floodings, we're also talking about displacement, as seeing water as its own agency. One of the interviewees said this phrase. It wasn't like this before. There were still many ponds. There were still many water reservoirs. Now the water reservoirs have been made into houses, built high. The water inevitably enters. So if it's like this, it's like this because we occupied its space. So through conducting this community engagement and through interviewing the local residents, we get to get a glimpse of their water knowledge before the maladaptive policies enters, and how some of the residents also see water as having its own agency and flooding not as a hazard, but as a sign that what they are doing to the location and the developmentalism is should be seen as kind of a symptom, flooding as a symptom, not as a natural disaster that is destroying their land or their houses. So here you can see the children are playing in the flooding. And through all of this awareness about water knowledge and the issues that the residents experience there, as well as through our experience as well in seeing the difference in temporal and spatial connection to water, all of this is abstracted into the artistic outputs. This is, I will share you one of the sound composition that one of the artist participants composed. This is only 1 minute out of 15 minutes. It's just a snippet of what you would get to hear. So in this piece called The Water Experience, what Luber is trying to explore is not just the material sense of water, the texture of water, but also the how the sound events are organized in a chaos when you're traveling through this narrow alleyways. And through these experiences, he wanted to introduce how the material experience, but also how from there it emerged an imagined reality in where they could tap into their local water knowledge. And this distinction between the material and this imagined space blurs the what is idle and what is moving, what is stagnant and what will change in the future. As we mentioned before, sound is a very fragile material, and how it also could inform us of how it could sound like in the future. So it blurs the distinction between what is can be experienced now and what will be experienced in the future. And we've been also conducting field work here, and we've been in Istanbul. The Jakarta team visited Istanbul and engaging the local community in Şahin Tepe. And this is a recent picture of us. And here we also recording sounds and documenting, for our films as a final output. Yeah, and that's it for me. Maybe we can move on to Urban.Koop.
Thank you very much, Dia. Would you like to add anything, Jun?
No, not at all. So I'm conscious of the time, so I'll go ahead.
I will take it brief. First, let me introduce myself. I couldn't change the name title in Zoom. Sorry for that. And I'm from Urban.Koop. And Urban.Koop is a collective of urban practitioners, mainly architects and urban planners. But our methodology is, instead of designing and building spaces, we actually build communities who are engaged with space. So our both work and practice is very much concerned with community building. And I think Dia used a really nice phrase, purposeful assemblies. That is a very major tool that we use because for community building, we need community engagement and community interaction. And that happens in a space, both physical or unphysical spaces. So we are trying to play around these spaces and create community engagement. So since we have been talking about Kalabutopulo, I'm going to add a little bit to our work in Kalabutopulo that would also exemplify our idea about space. So actually, here shows some pictures. I wasn't sure if so I'm going to add on to that. Here it comes. So you have already get more information about the space, but in this place there was for us the public space and space for coming together to create again a purposeful assembly was lacking. So we used the sandbags you have seen for flood prevention to organize that as an assembly space. And here, the emphasis is not on the design, but the process of building this, because this has been built with people living there, cleaning there, like children coming together, and at the end, yeah, this is the process. At the end, they already showed the results where we managed to bring together and listen people and their water stories around this assembly space. So yeah, so that is our basic idea about and our contribution to the project, how to bring communities together and listen to their stories and experience and knowledge about water. So I'm going to talk about Istanbul, or main case, actually, if I start over from that. Istanbul case and Jakarta is very similar to each other and also very different from each other. So we are both working on the problems around water and water-related problems on community and its effect on community. But in Kalabutopulo, the problem is the excess water, too much water flooding. In Istanbul, the problem is the lack of water, and how this lack of water and both physical and also in imagination, the future of water is very unclear, and its effect on communities is what we are targeting on. And very basically, Istanbul has always been through the history a place where water has to be carried from somewhere else. And we are working in this corridor, let's say. It combines three different water basins, and it includes three important lakes connected to each other. And this area has been under a lot of debate in recent years, where a big channel for transportation is proposed. That's a mega project. We don't know if it's going to be realized for real or not, but that's like it's a major political decision. And also, one of the biggest airports in the world has been built on wetlands, filling up the old lakes and drying them, and it's a very big area affecting people. Now our focus on this project is not about these policies, these big urban policies, but their effect on the communities living there. So there's the top-down decisions are debated a lot, both in public sphere and also within the communities. But we have seen that their effect on the daily life of the community is often disregarded. So we started by working on the whole basin. And when I say basin, I'm talking about three different basins, like the whole corridor of this Kanal Istanbul project, and started talking with people and how this huge transformation changed them, changed their life, their daily life. And we have, conducted different interviews on the different parts of the basin, and somehow classified these problems. Now, I'm not going to go deep into these problems, but very basically, these are the main subjects. And what we are very much focusing on is the land speculation and displacement and loss of recreational space. Now, let me emphasize both of them. Of course, these huge projects, these are mega projects, which are going to take maybe years to be built. And we don't even know if it's really going to be built or if it's just a speculative tool for the real estate sector. But these are all top-down decisions, and most often communities don't have any part in this decision making. And its effect on the neighborhood is often debated around the land speculation and real estate prices and displacement. But it also creates a myth around this matter. Like, there is this huge project and people don't even know what is going to happen or is going to happen. So there is this, it turns into a mystical monster, which people talk about. And it has sociological and even individually, like psychological effects on the communities. And another thing that we emphasize here is the loss of recreational space, because when you go deep into communities' relationship with the water, we usually see that water is a recreational area for people. It's a place where people go for picnics, and it's a place where people spend their free time. And free time is very important in community building and also building the culture, because this is when the culture is. It's like losing these recreational spaces actually has a connection with the loss of identity and also loss of community. And with this fieldwork, we have been focusing on a specific neighborhood on this one of the basins. It's called Şahintepe. And here you can see a very general picture of the area. And this area is on the borders of Istanbul, and it has been an informal settlement, a favela, you might say. And it has been built around after 70s and 80s, and most of the houses have been built irregularly without any legal status, let's say. Now that is something important that I really liked this picture. This is something that I want to emphasize, because the neighborhood has been literally built by the community. So it's been it is the product of the community, and they have been solving all the basic municipal problems like roads and even the water. It's like for years they have been carrying out water routes and organizing themselves for bringing water to the neighborhood. And now with this new idea of Kanal Istanbul project, there is a huge land speculation in the area. The price of the land goes really high, and people are forced to move out of this place that they have built. So we are working in Şahintepe. So their relationship with water is more indirect with if you compare with Kalabutopulo, for example. There's not a risk of flooding maybe, but there's a myth built around water, and that myth is very much affecting people's life and community relations and the trust between people. And again, just as we have done in Kalabutopulo. Okay, this is a very recent photo. You can see the construction sites on the water basin next to the neighborhood. I'm sorry, I have a little technical issue. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we've been able to hear you the
Yeah.
whole time.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
The batteries are dead, so I had to change the source.
Perfect. We hear you well.
Okay, great. As so, the area has been living under the shadow of these big constructions. Now, very much similar to Kalabutopulo, this area is also composed of a community. Usually came to the area with immigration around Turkey, and it has also been politically very much oppressed for years. So it's like it has been surrounded by water, but it has now no access to water. Again, contrary to Kalabutopulo, the problem here is not the excess water, but inability to use the water and so on. Again, we have been working with the local community in this neighborhood, and we have been trying to engage to the daily life and try to find solutions of how to improve this community interaction within the neighborhood. And we have been experiencing recent events in Istanbul. One of them is the earthquake, and earthquake is, for example, a very major issue for the neighborhood, and they have very recently experienced the earthquake. For example, after the earthquake, access to clean water and also managing the dirty water, like building toilets and so on. That is, for example, a very major issue for the neighborhood that they have been discussing around. What shall we do? And again, if I may remind, most of the solutions are for the urban programs are made as a community here in this neighborhood. So that's a major discussion that we are also still in progress working on this idea. And one of the DIA also showed this example. We emphasized the idea of recreation. So we have very recently, with the also attendance of from Lenteng team, organized a picnic, a very traditional picnic, where the community came together, they danced together, cooked together, and you know that's we are trying to create interfaces where we can have this kind of conversation about the water. The conversation is always there, but it's always at the level of about the top-down decisions, about the land speculation, about the new houses that are going to be built, and so on. But the effect on the daily life is most often disregarded. So it's like we are trying to create this dialogue and conversation by means of picnics and movie screenings and so on and so forth. And yeah, this is also very recent, where from Lenteng team had the possibility to work together with the community. Because within this community, there's also a solidarity group and use similar tactics as from Lenteng. So they have been making a documentation of people's water stories and water knowledge within the neighborhood. Well, I have tried to make it very brief because we don't want to excess the time, right, June? So let me finish here. So if there are any more questions, I can go into more detail.
Thanks so much. So Yes, we are, as you know, we are supposed to have the panel discussion. Considering the time, it looks like we got roughly 10 minutes. So I think it's a fitting that we will open to the floor and then see if our audiences. I hope that you have enjoyed our presentation, and if you any of you has any questions, and then we can have some discussion.